Which trade has been the most successful so far this season? The Suns currently have a successful case. New Suns player Nick Richards recently made his debut in a game against the Pistons, coming off the bench. Unexpectedly, Nick Richards made a big splash in his first game, playing 29 minutes, shooting 7 of 8 from the field and 7 of 9 from the free throw line, with a field goal percentage of 87.5%. He had a team-high plus 22 plus-minus rating and recorded an impressive 21 points, 11 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal. Nick Richards also set a record, becoming the first player in the Suns' 56-year history to post a 20-plus 10 game off the bench in their debut. Watching the entire game makes it clear, if Nick Richards had played even a minute less, the Suns would have lost. From this game, it's evident that Nick Richards' offensive abilities far surpassed Mason Plumlee by a wide margin, and his defensive skills are even superior to those of Oso Ighodaro. He was part of the decisive lineup in the fourth quarter. Unless something unexpected happens, he will likely be the Suns' starting center in the next game. Looking back at the trade, the Suns used Josh Okogie, who was nearly out of the rotation, along with 3 second-round picks to acquire Nick Richards, who is on a modest 2-year, $10 million contract, as well as an additional second-round pick. This deal also saved the Suns $20 million in luxury tax. The value of this trade speaks for itself. As for Nick Richards, the best way to describe him is as a late bloomer. Nick Richards was born in Jamaica, where basketball was almost non-existent. Basketball wasn't his first choice. He initially played soccer, then took up high jump and cricket, and even tried swimming for a while. It seemed like he had tried every sport except basketball. When he finally started playing basketball, Nick Richards had only one concept: putting the ball in the hoop meant winning. He first encountered basketball at the age of 16. At 16, starting basketball was incredibly late. Most kids start playing basketball in kindergarten or elementary school, receiving formal training early on. Nick Richards, however, didn't receive proper basketball training until he was in high school. His talent was discovered by a coach who believed his potential was extraordinary. After all, during high school, both his height and wingspan had already reached 6.6 feet. These outstanding physical attributes quickly helped him catch up with his peers. However, Nick Richards often couldn't grasp offensive plays or understand why he needed to run certain patterns. His athletic talent caught the attention of American scouts, one of whom invited him to St. Mary's High School in New York with genuine enthusiasm. Upon arriving in the U.S., Nick Richards began receiving proper, systematic training. He was no longer running around cluelessly on the court. He spent most of his time observing, transitioning from a basketball novice to a 5-star high school recruit who was eventually selected for the McDonald's All-American Game. In 2013, HBO produced a documentary called Student Athlete, which featured a young Nick Richards as its main subject. In the documentary, Nick Richards confidently declared his goal of becoming a one-and-done player, spending 1 year in college basketball before entering the NBA. He expressed unwavering determination to achieve this goal. The subsequent story closely aligned with his predetermined goal. He became a 5-star high school recruit, was selected for the McDonald's All-American Game, and joined the prestigious University of Kentucky among numerous Division I offers. However, reality didn't align with his expectations. In high school, his talent allowed him to dominate opponents. But in college, there were many players with equally great talent. His weak fundamentals were immediately exposed during college games. Nick Richards' college career didn't go as he envisioned. He was the 4th or 5th option on his team, averaging just over 10 minutes per game with 5.1 points and 4.4 rebounds. Such stats hardly caught the attention of NBA teams. Ultimately, Nick Richards had to give up on entering the draft after his freshman year. That year, 5 players from his college team declared for the draft. 4 were selected, One became a Thunder star, one played in the G League, another went to play in Asia, and one recovered from injuries with the Lakers. Although some of them didn't achieve as much as Nick Richards later would, at the time, Nick Richards felt dejected. With no other choice, he returned to Kentucky for his sophomore season. However, the sophomore season proved even more challenging than the freshman year. Nick Richards' playing time dropped from 14 minutes to 12 minutes per game, and his stats fell to 4 points and 3 rebounds. He not only lost his starting spot but also appeared visibly disheartened during games. No one knew exactly what Nick Richards was going through. Not only his coach but also his girlfriend tried to encourage him, but Nick Richards would always respond, "No, I'm not lacking confidence." In a moment of crisis, Kentucky assistant coach Payne dialed the number of his friend Patrick Ewing. Yes, the Patrick Ewing who was an 11-time All-Star and named one of the NBA's 75 greatest players. Both standing 7 feet tall and hailing from Jamaica, Ewing was the perfect role model for Nick Richards. "Kid, listen to me. You're heading into your junior year. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Work hard and don't doubt your abilities," Ewing advised. This advice, though similar to what others had told him, carried weight because it came from someone Nick Richards admired deeply. Finally, Nick Richards broke down, admitting his loss of confidence. From that moment, Nick Richards seemed to turn a corner. In his junior year, he played nearly 30 minutes per game, averaging 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks on 70% shooting. He led Kentucky to a 25-6 record. At the end of the season, he finally entered the draft. In the 2020 NBA draft, the Pelicans selected Nick Richards with the 42nd pick and traded him to the Hornets. Though he hoped to thrive in the NBA, he faced similar challenges as in college. As a rookie with the Hornets, Nick Richards found himself behind Bismack Biyombo and Cody Zeller in the rotation. He played in just 18 games, mostly during garbage time, averaging only 0.8 points and 0.6 rebounds. At that moment, Nick Richards realized he needed to start by doing the dirty work that no one else wanted to do. In his second season, he was still a garbage time player. However, his willingness to do all the little things caught the coach's attention. The head coach didn't hesitate to praise him. He's a versatile player who is willing to do all the dirty work. By his third season, Nick Richards became part of the team's regular rotation, serving as a reliable backup center. In his fourth season, he became a starter. However, the Hornets were focused on developing Mark Williams, their 15th overall pick in the 2022 draft. For Nick Richards, a second-round pick, the team's plan was to showcase his value and eventually trade him. The Suns, needing a player like Nick Richards, went all in to acquire him. It seems their gamble paid off. Nick Richards is precisely the type of center they were looking for. Whether it's his finishing at the rim, quality screens, offensive rebounding, or athleticism, he possesses traits that every team desires in a big man. That said, Nick Richards is already 27 years old, and his season averages of 9.5 points don't suggest he'll deliver exceptional performances every game. Moreover, the team he faced in his Suns debut wasn't a championship contender. The Suns' defensive issues and locker room challenges won't be resolved by just one Nick Richards. If the Suns aim to continue pursuing a championship, every player will need to do much more.